think that's your network.
I was honored today to be invited by the Attorney General Merrick Garland to accompany him on this trip to Chicago. I'm going to resume my visit with him shortly after this. Thank you to the mayor and to the superintendent for our tour today. It was an important one. I will just tell you the bottom line. This Attorney General and this President, they both really care about the city of Chicago. The Attorney General is born and raised in Chicago. It means a lot to him personally. He understands the challenges that we're facing, and his presence today is an indication of his commitment to help us. One of the aspects that's part of this, of course, is going to involve more investment of funds for law enforcement. We think that the American Rescue Plan, which President Biden pushed as soon as he came into office, is going to provide some of those resources at a federal level and as well as state and local level. So some of those resources can be dedicated to purposes the superintendent and mayor find. While I was flying here today, the President of the United States was signing the Victims of Crime Act, VOCA. It's a bill that I sponsored. I wish I could have been at the ceremony, but this was more important to me. That Victims of Crime Act will mean resources for many of the families that have suffered losses because of the crime that's been committed. It's an important program. It's going to be dramatically expanded in the near future. We have a challenge, and it's a challenge that we need to meet together. I'm happy to be working with the mayor on addressing gun violence in the city of Chicago. It breaks my heart to hear, as I'm sure everyone else, the sad stories of the people whose lives have been lost and changed forever because of this violence. I'm going to catch up with the Attorney General, and I'd like to turn it over at this point to the mayor.
So thanks everyone for being here. We had a very good visit with Attorney General Garland. Very much appreciate him making Chicago a priority. As you all know, this morning the White House announced the formation of the strike forces. I think this is going to make a significant difference, and here's why. Having the focus on a multi-jurisdictional basis to coordinate federal resources to address gun trafficking across state lines will make a huge difference here in the city of Chicago. Many of you know this. Our guns are not originating in Chicago. They're coming across the border from Indiana, from Michigan, from Wisconsin, and from some southern states. So having that focus and coordination led by U.S. Attorney's Office and ATF in coordination with the Chicago Police Department is going to make a huge difference. I feel very, very confident in that. Now, someone said, well, it's no additional resources. That's not the point. It's focused coordination and collaboration across state lines. That is going to be a game changer. Other resources, I'm confident, will come, but we have a long-standing good relationship with our federal partners. This is only going to deepen and strengthen it, in addition to the resources that the superintendent announced earlier this week with the gun teams that are going to be much more proactive in ferreting out the sources of guns, coupled with the Gun Reward Fund. We are really focused on stopping the flow of guns to our streets. So today we showed the Attorney General our SDSC rooms, which many of you know, the technology that's used in districts like 11 and other districts on the west side and the south side, tracking crimes and being proactive, coupled with our ShotSpotter technology. We also showed him our ATC rooms that the detectives use to really then do the follow-up investigations on shootings, on homicides, and other serious violent crimes. So I think he was impressed with what he saw. Of course, we asked for additional resources. You'd be surprised if we didn't, but we feel very good about the attention and focus, not only from the Attorney General, but also President Biden. They understand it's important to provide us with support and additional resources. I feel very fortunate that we have a president in a White House and a Department of Justice that understands the importance of partnering with cities like the city of Chicago. And I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
As I mentioned earlier this morning in a presser regarding the weekend's events and the overnight events of shootings that we're investigating, we are committed as Chicago Police Department to fighting for the heart and soul of these communities. many of these communities are being terrorized by a few people who we are asking the community to come forward and let us know who they are. The conversation with the Attorney General today really accentuated the point of gun trafficking. Obviously, many of these crimes are committed by violent offenders with guns. We want to know, where did these offenders get those guns? And we want to hold accountable to those traffickers that are getting blood money for the guns that are wreaking havoc in many of our communities. So we are dedicated and committed to this collaboration with ATF, with U.S. Attorney's Office, FBI, and all of our federal partners, as well as state and county partners, so that we can focus, a laser focus on gun trafficking. And of course, the collaboration means we have intelligence information that's actionable, that's beyond the borders of the city of Chicago. So many of our officers have been deputized as task force officers that can reach into those other states and find those gun stores and those straw purchases that happen beyond the borders of Chicago. That's the real benefit of this laser-focused collaboration, is that we are not limited to just the borders of the city of Chicago. We can go find these guns, trace these guns back to their original sale, so that we can hold these people accountable for violating both federal law and state law, and prosecute them to the highest extent that the law allows. And with that, we'll take any questions. Mayor?
Mayor, you mentioned additional resources. You said once we ask for them. Can you embellish a little bit more on exactly what those are?
Well, I haven't been shy about asking for additional resources. I think that we need to give more resources to the ATF. The ATF is the primary lead on illegal gun crimes, holding federally licensed gun dealers accountable and responsible. We've got to fully staff the ATF divisions here that are focused on gun crimes. And I'm going to keep asking for those resources. I asked and talk about this at length with Senator Durbin, Senator Duckworth, and our other federal representatives, and we're going to keep talking about this and advocating for additional resources. But right now I feel very satisfied with the attention and focus on gun trafficking on a multi-jurisdictional basis. I've been asking for these kind of resources for 2 years. 2 years consistently. This is the first time that we've had a president who's answered our urgent plea for this kind of assistance. So I feel very good about that. We have a great relationship with U.S. Attorney John Lausch and his team. Now we've got the federal focus on a multi-jurisdictional basis to really, I think, hone in on the trafficking that's causing so much harm in our city.
On the gun trafficking issue, Mayor Lightfoot, is there more help and watch from the federal government in terms of the community-based intervention to
Well, that's been an active conversation for months now, and we talked about that with the Attorney General. My expectation is that we will be using ARP funds to support those community-based interventions. Look, it's obvious we cannot arrest our way out of this problem. Fundamentally, if you look at the West Side and you look at the challenges, the opioid addiction that is really harming so many individuals and families and communities here on the West Side, the investments that we have to make in human capital, the investments that we've got to make in infrastructure, that's why I spend so much time here on the West Side. And I really do believe, as goes the West Side, goes the rest of the city of Chicago. If we can get it right here, with a mix of resources and investments and capacity building in neighborhoods, empowering residents to be able to hold the territory under their feet with our help and our support, not just in the short term, but in the long term, that's really what the investments have to be about, and I'm totally committed to that. Go ahead, Greg.
There are already existing task force. There's already cooperation between CPD and ATF and the other federal agencies. This one's no additional resources. So what is different about this that goes beyond what they were already doing?
The difference is multi-jurisdictional. So the U.S. Attorney here in Gary, Indianapolis, and really down I-65 to the southern states, sharing intelligence, breaking down silos, and working hand in glove with local law enforcement, and particularly CPD. That's what's going to be the game changer. Yes, of course, our folks have been on task forces prior to my time being a federal prosecutor 20 plus years ago. So that's not new. What's new is the coordination across boundaries. That is what can be the game changer. Now again, they've got to be diligent, they've got to be focused, they've got to set up a structure for a feedback loop on intelligence, but if that works the way I know it can, it will be a game changer. One, because we're sending a message to the gun traffickers, we are going to find you no matter where you are. We are sending a message to the victims, which is that we hear you and we are here to support the work that needs to be done to keep these violent weapons, and really weapons of war, off our streets. These aren't simple handguns. These are automatic weapons. These are guns that have the capacity to fire rounds and rounds and rounds in quick succession. You see these things. We witnessed a video from earlier last year, and it is astounding, the firepower that's on our streets. So focus on that. Focus, this is not grandpa with a firearm. These are dangerous people who should never have weapons in the first place. We've got to bring them to justice, and we've got to rattle the saber of federal time, which these folks in the neighborhoods who are wreaking havoc, they fear the federal time. And sending a loud and clear message that if you pick up a gun, if you shoot indiscriminately into a crowd, not only are we going to find you, we're going to take you to federal court and we're going to ship you off to South Dakota, and you're never going to see your family again. So the choice is yours. We have to send a very loud and clear message. You're bringing guns into the city of Chicago, we're coming for you. We're going to meet you at the border, we're going to lock you up, and you're going to be sent off to federal prison. That's a very effective message, and we've got to get that word out. That's what I think the strike forces will do for us.
You might say, why wasn't this done a long time ago?
Well, I asked the same question. As you know, I became mayor in the middle of 2019. I started beating this drum then. I know from my own experience as a federal prosecutor what this level of coordination can do. It's low-hanging fruit, but unfortunately we had a federal administration that didn't care about cities. They like to villainize us, like to talk about the problems, but not come in partnership with solutions. That is a sea change from the Biden administration. The Biden administration understands that the health of our cities is critical to the health of the nation, and that's why they are in partnership with us and providing these additional resources and listening to mayors like me, but also mayors all across the country that have been saying the same thing but have been ignored. Now we're heard, we have a seat at the table, and we've got to take care of business.
Adrian.
Hi,
Yes, sir.
Rod is here from CNN, and his question is for Superintendent Brown. How do you keep your officers going? Earlier today, I heard you say none of the victims were cooperating, and you said that's an indication you're looking for strict justice.
One of the things that I've emphasized is officer wellness. Across the country, officers are leaving the profession in larger numbers than they have in the past. Here in Chicago, we're not seeing the same type of attrition, although we're seeing attrition out of this profession. We really need to focus on the wellness of our officers, as well as encourage them when they do a job well done. We brag about these officers, which means we still can hold them accountable when they don't do the job right. There's not a conflict to say officers did a great job in capturing a murder suspect, bringing them to justice for these victims, while at the same time, but if you cross the line and violate the rules, we're going to hold you accountable, because we're trying to build the trust of the community. And if the community trusts us, maybe now they will come forward with information, whereas maybe they don't seek out revenge and or street justice. So it is a dangerous job. I can't say enough. Our officers are running toward danger, risking everything for the people of Chicago. And they are committed and dedicated in some of the most brave and courageous circumstances, where they really stare down people shooting at each other to bring those offenders to justice. So another brag about our officers who do great work, while at the same time, we think that the community can trust us enough to find these offenders Give us information to solve some of this violence. You can trust that this department will bring these people to justice, but you have to start trusting us is our plea, and really we're begging the community, don't harbor these individuals. Give them up. Give us information about who's trafficking guns, who's committing violence, so that we can bring these people to justice. Our babies deserve that at the very least, who are oftentimes in harm's way by these bullets who has no one named on it. So they're shooting at a target, but they end up hitting one of our precious babies. And that's where, in my opinion, this community needs to draw the line and give those people up to justice in our court system.
You said earlier that the strike force will enhance your department and capabilities.
Yeah.
How so?
So we added additional task force officers, which are deputized ATF task force officers, which broadens their jurisdiction outside the borders of the city of Chicago, which means they can trace that gun and visit Indiana, that they can go to a southern state and make that connection and now charge these people federally. Before that expansion and collaboration, we were limited in what we could find within the borders of the city of Chicago. So this collaboration is no small thing. It's significant that our officers are now deputized in a larger capacity and can speak with the U.S. attorneys in another jurisdiction about filing charges in those jurisdictions because they impact Chicago.
Carmen?
We are expecting these special forces to run in about 40 days, but how many agents are we expecting to hit the streets here in Chicago?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
We are expecting these special forces to run in about 30 days, right? So how many agents are we expecting to join these forces here in Chicago?
So again, we are using the resources that are here and coordinating across various jurisdictions. So we're not expecting in the short term any additional bodies, but we are expecting this level of coordination. The superintendent has devoted more CPD officers to enhance the size of the task forces, but the coordination is really the key. I can't emphasize that enough. As a former federal prosecutor myself, having the ability to talk to U.S. attorneys' offices really down the I-65 corridor will be a game changer. And having weekly coordination, assessment of intelligence sharing, that's going to be a game changer for us.
Can you talk to the fact that it's been harder with COVID to train new officers and bringing them in? We're already kind of behind the eight ball on that, so how are you going to be able to get those new officers trained?
So as I mentioned, attrition in the Chicago PD of officers leaving the profession, it really is a function of our restrictions over the last 14, 15 months because of COVID. Room restrictions, which means we had smaller class sizes to comply with the room restrictions. Testing for officers, so large rooms where we would normally have 15 to 30,000 people show up for the application test, we weren't able to do for the last 12 months. And so we do have a backlog in our pipeline for officers that would have applied but for COVID restrictions. And so we're opening up the pipeline and starting our testing processes. We hope to have 2 in-person tests and 2 online tests this year to open that pipeline of applications so that we can start filling up our classes to the full capacities. Fingers crossed, get the vaccine, get the shot, because it is impacting public safety. If we have another spike, then we have limited room restrictions for our police academy, thus fewer officers on the street. So the vaccine is something that impacts public safety. So please, if you hadn't already, please get vaccinated.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Mayor, the most recently available years of ATF gun recovery data overwhelmingly show that those guns are originating in Illinois. How is this task force going to focus on making sure those guns?
Well, we obviously have a challenge with the gun dealers that line the city of Chicago, but we also have a significant challenge with guns coming from outside of Illinois. I think it helps in a couple of reasons. One, it empowers ATF, right? ATF has not been empowered for way too long a time. I left the U.S. Attorney's Office over 20 years, or almost 20 years ago, and since that time, ATF's resources and standing has gone down and down and down. We're now building that back up, and I think that's critically important. Empowering ATF to go and really aggressively regulate and perform oversight of federally licensed gun dealers is going to be significant. If gun dealers know nobody's watching, nobody's paying attention, and nobody cares if they're selling to obvious straw purchasers, right? The guy who brings in a gal or somebody else, and he's the person that picks out all the weapons, but the other person signs all the paperwork, that's a big red flag. And so being able to be aggressive, looking at those sales, following up to make sure that those guns are still in the hands of the person who bought them, that's going to be key. That's another part of the resources that's going to be coming now with this federal focus on gun trafficking. So I welcome those. And again, that to me, that's low-hanging fruit that should have been happening all along, but it didn't happen in the previous administration. It's going to happen now. And we're going to ramp up, in addition to the resources that the superintendent talked about, a renewed focus also in partnership with the state police on FOID card violators. Right? We have thousands of people that live in the city of Chicago whose FOID cards have expired. Nobody's knocked on their door to say, you don't have the right to possess guns anymore. So that's got to also be part of the coordinated effort as well. Other questions?
Superintendent, we heard from sources that the head of organized crime in Toronto has resigned, and his deputy chief Mills also resigned. Can you address that?
So, you know, we don't usually talk about personnel issues, but I will say resign is the wrong word. These people were eligible for retirement for the last couple of years. They stayed on upon my request and promotion to help us transition, and both are have gone on to other opportunities. Yes, both retiring, not resigning, and on good terms, by the way. We have great respect for both Jose Tirado and Tommy Mills. They've dedicated all of their adult lives to the city of Chicago. Tommy Mills, for example, 31 years on this job. The cohort hired in the big hiring push 30 years ago is eligible for retirement. So it's not a thing other than they're eligible for retirement, and they're retiring and going on to the next phase of their life. So we wish them well, and we thank them for their great service to this organization and to this city.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.